Imagine two people, same city, same job, same salary. But one of them checks their bank account every single morning with a knot in their stomach. The other one forgets their bank account even exists for weeks. One of them sees a sale and feels an uncontrollable urge to buy even when they don't need it. The other one walks past without a second thought. One saves money but secretly feels guilty for having it. The other invests without any emotional weight at all. Same income, completely different brands. Why? Because one of them grew up poor. And science has now confirmed something that will change how you see yourself and everyone around you forever. Growing up without money does not just affect your childhood, it rewires your brain in ways that follow you for the rest of your life. And today we are going to go deep inside that rewiring and show you exactly what it does, why it happens, and whether it can truly be undone. In 2013, a group of researchers from Harvard and Princeton published a study that shook the psychology world. They discovered that when people are in a state of financial scarcity, their brains actually function differently. Not just emotionally, literally differently. The mental bandwidth, which is the brain's ability to focus, make decisions, and think clearly, gets consumed by the financial worry. People who are constantly worried about money have the same cognitive drop as someone who has lost a full night of sleep. Think about that. A child growing up in a poor household is not just dealing with less food or smaller clothes. Their brain is operating under constant low-level stress that eats into their thinking capacity every single day. And when this happens during childhood, during the years when the brain is still forming and developing, it does not just pass, it leaves a permanent mark. Neuroscientists call this a stress imprint. The brain learns that the world is an unsafe place financially. And once the brain learns something this deeply, it holds on to it like a survival instruction. So what does this stress imprint actually look like in real adult life? It shows up in a very specific and identifiable behaviors that people who grew up poor recognize immediately when they hear them. The first one is hoarding. People who experienced scarcity as children often compulsively hold on to things. Not just money but physical objects too. Old clothes that no longer fit. Expired coupons, broken items they will never fix. The brain learned early that things can disappear suddenly, and so it fights hard against letting anything go. The second behavior is panic buying. When there is a sale or a limited time offer, the poor raised brain does not see a discount. It sees a window of survival opportunity closing. Buy now or suffer later. This is why so many people overspend on things they do not need simply because it was on sale. The third behavior is guilt around spending. Even when people who grew up poor become successful and genuinely wealthy, many of them feel a deep, unexplainable guilt when they spend money on themselves. A therapist would call this money shame. The brain still feels undeserving of comfort because comfort was never a childhood baseline. And the fourth behavior is hypervigilance about finances. Checking bank accounts obsessively, recalculating expenses in their head while trying to sleep, feeling physical anxiety when an unexpected bill arrives. These are not personality flaws. These are survival programs that the brain installed during poverty and never uninstalled. Now let us go even deeper, because this is not just about behavior patterns or emotional habits. Growing up in poverty actually changes the physical structure of the brain. Multiple studies using MRI brain scans on adults who grew up in low-income households found measurable differences in three key brain regions: The first is the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain responsible for long-term thinking, planning, and impulse control. In people who grew up poor, it shows reduced activity and in some cases reduced volume. This is why financial planning and delayed gratification feel genuinely harder for some people. It is not laziness, it is biology. The second region is the amygdala. This is the brain's alarm system. In people who experience childhood poverty, the amygdala is often enlarged and hyperactive. It fires more easily and more intensely in response to financial stress, meaning a simple unexpected bill triggers a threat response as powerful as if they were in physical danger. And the third region is the hippocampus, which manages memory and learning. Chronic stress during childhood can actually shrink the hippocampus, making it harder to retain positive financial experiences and easier to hold on to negative financial memories. In simple words, the brain physically remembers the bad times more than the good ones. But here is where the story takes a powerful turn, because everything we have talked about so far sounds like damage. And yes, some of it is. But the same experiences that create these challenges also create something remarkable. People who grew up poor develop a set of psychological advantages that those raised in comfort simply never develop. The first is extreme resourcefulness. When you grow up with nothing, your brain becomes incredibly creative at solving problems with minimal tools. Many of the world's most innovative entrepreneurs grew up poor, not despite their poverty but because of the mental flexibility it forced them to develop. The second advantage is hyper-awareness of value. People who grew up poor have a finely tuned radar for what things are truly worth. They do not fall for surface-level marketing or status purchases as easily. They can spot genuine value in a world full of noise. The third advantage is resilience. The amygdala that fires so easily under financial stress, that same heightened sensitivity makes people who grew up poor extraordinarily good at surviving crises. When real adversity hits, they do not collapse. They activate because their entire nervous system was trained for exactly this. So the question everyone is now asking is, can this rewiring be undone? Can a person who grew up poor ever fully escape these mental patterns? The honest answer is not completely. But that is actually okay, because the goal is not to erase where you came from. The goal is to understand it so deeply that you can choose your responses instead of being controlled by them. Neuroscience has shown us something called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new pathways and change its own structure through new experiences and conscious effort. The scarcity programs installed in childhood are deeply rooted, but they are not permanent walls. They are more like default settings, and default settings can be overridden. Research shows that 3 specific practices have measurable impact on rewiring financial anxiety patterns. The first is financial education combined with small consistent wins. Every time a person sets a small financial goal and achieves it, the brain registers a new safety signal. Over time, these signals build a new layer of financial confidence on top of the old scarcity vibe. The second is therapy specifically focused on money beliefs. Cognitive behavioral therapy has shown strong results in helping people identify and interrupt the automatic money responses they inherited from childhood. And the third is community. Surrounding yourself with people who have a healthy relationship with money exposes your brain to new behavioral models. The brain learns enormously through observation. New environments create a neural pathways. Here is what I want you to take away from everything you just learned. If you grew up poor and you have ever felt guilty for spending money, or anxious about financial security even when you are doing okay, are unable to stop thinking about money even when everything is fine, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not bad with money. You are a person whose brain learned to survive in a difficult environment, and it did exactly what it was built to do. It protected you. The patterns that feel like weaknesses today were once survival tools that got you through real hardship. The difference between people who stay trapped in scarcity thinking and those who move beyond it is not intelligence. It is not opportunity alone. It is awareness. The moment you understand why your brain does what it does with money, you take back the power to choose differently. So the next time you feel that knot in your stomach before checking your bank account, pause, recognize it, name it, and remind yourself this is an old program, not my current reality. You survived the scarcity. Now it is time to let your brain know that the survival is over and the real living has begun. Thank you.